All right. Hello, everybody. Welcome to the podcast with Nathan and Andrew. I am Andrew. The other guy that will be talking is Nathan, and we're
Hello.
going to talk some current events and various ramifications of said current events. And also, most importantly, is Bigfoot real? Because let's be real, that is the pressing question of our time. So, Nathan, why don't you take us away with our theories on Bigfoot?
So I know it's a politically charged subject, but I really think that Bigfoot could be the answer to all of our current problems. I think that if we could just show that our government has been hiding Bigfoot somewhere, possibly Area 51, that we can all rally behind that. We can all demand that the government is more transparent with us, and we can study this magnificent beast in the public. We can put him in a zoo. We can keep him safe, and we can make sure that everyone who's claimed Bigfoot to be real, including myself, is vindicated.
How long does Bigfoot live?
That's a really good question, considering that I don't think there's ever been a Bigfoot in captivity. I don't think we could say, even if he was in captivity, that probably wouldn't be a good metric for determining how long they live in the wild.
All right.
But,
All I'm saying is it's always
but
been Bigfoot, not Bigfoots. Like,
well,
is this thing just
yeah,
immortal? Lives forever and wherever it lives?
might be. So the reason I think that Bigfoot is real is one of my heroes, Teddy Roosevelt, wrote a story about him. It was the Bjorn story. I believe that's how you pronounce it. That's actually the name on my little Discord right here. And in that story, Teddy Roosevelt, he was in Idaho, actually in a place where I have gone hunting before and hiking and camping. And the story starts out where Teddy Roosevelt is talking to an old trapper. I believe this man was a guide for Teddy Roosevelt, or Teddy, yeah, Teddy Roosevelt. And most of the people back in the day, when they're hunters, when they're trappers, when they're outdoorsmen, and their whole life is based on almost a sustenance hunting style, you get some pretty hard men and some pretty hard people that don't believe in goblin stories or ghost stories or whatever you have it at that time. And this man, maybe he was just a storyteller. Maybe he just wanted to get his name out there. You know, he's an old man, wants to have some sort of legend behind him, even if it's false. But he claimed that him, Bjorn, went hiking or trapping in Idaho with his friend, and they came to a good spot for beaver, and they had heard previously that a hunter had been killed there and partially eaten by some sort of wild animal. And Bjorn, being a young man with his friend, another young man, being armed as they were with probably some sort of high quality rifle of the day, if that's their job. They decided that it wasn't something that they were super worried about. I mean, what does a man have to fear if he has a gun, right? And they went after beavers. And long story short, Bigfoot showed up in the middle of the night, and or some creature. They claimed it was either half man or half devil, and half bear. So it's kind of a man bear pig, if you will, or man bear devil, if you will. And they had shot at it, and it left, and they trapped for a couple days, and they were pretty spooked after a while because they decided this is some creature that's really messing with us. This is an evil creature. It won't leave us alone. And Bjorn one day, his traps finally caught some beavers. He cleaned out the beavers, came back to his friend who had had his neck snapped by Bigfoot or by this creature. And I don't know. My thought process is if it passed the Teddy Roosevelt sniff test, another big hunter trapper, just all around American badass, then
Because Teddy
Bjorn
Roosevelt was
probably
never
tough enough.
known to embellish anything.
Not once. Perfect man.
Yeah, okay.
Yep,
um,
I stand by that statement.
yeah, I mean, it's a cool story for sure. I haven't really looked into it much. I mean, there's some evidence to suggest that giants roamed this land at one point, at least in North America for sure. So it could just be the remnants of giants that haven't assimilated to our to being human, you know. Because
Well, sure.
there's obviously everyone in the NBA is obviously part giant. That's pretty obvious.
Yeah, yeah, they're all direct descendants of Goliath.
Yeah. So
But Andrew, I want to point out that there's a bunch of creatures that we've said do not exist that we can say conclusively don't exist, like the giant squid, for example. The giant squid didn't exist. And finally, I think it was like 10 years ago now, off an oil rig, we got video evidence of this creature existing.
it's got to be longer than 10 years ago.
Yeah, it might have been like 20 years ago. I don't know. But I'm
20 years
saying
ago was
within,
2000, dude.
well, so be it. I'm saying within our lifetimes, we have proved that a creature which previously did not exist does exist.
All right. I'm not saying it's not possible, but like here's the thing, it's not if there's like a big foot, it's not Bigfoot, if you know what I'm saying. Like cuz just the whole legend of Bigfoot, like the whole mythology around it is there's like some ape giant hobbit looking thing that's running around the woods just being like doing his thing or whatever. But it's always kind of framed as like it's just this one individual creature and it's the only one of its kind of thing instead of being like, having it's not like ever seen as a species. And so that obviously if it is just one creature, well, everything dies. So like how long is this thing supposed to live for? We've been searching for Sasquatch or Bigfoot for 60 plus years at least. Or well, you said Teddy Roosevelt, so it's over 100 years of people looking for this thing. Like, is it just still not died of old age yet? Like, it seems kind of odd.
I'm not suggesting it's one. I'm not suggesting it's just one Bigfoot. I think that there's probably some sort of population because you can't just have one creature. Nothing lives an infinite lifetime, right?
Yeah. So, I mean, in that regard, yeah, maybe there is something, but I
And
don't know,
so I
man.
don't know if you know anything about this. The lion killer, I think they're called lion killer apes, the billy ape of the Congo. So they're these really tall apes, these really big, massive, powerful apes called the billy apes of Congo. And I think there's only been one that was ever shot. Distinct species, by the way. It's not just some sort of gorilla or some sort of chimp. It's its own species. And there's only ever been one shot, and someone, according to the Joe Rogan podcast, which I mean, take that information as you will, someone has caught video footage of it by setting up trail cams in the Congo. So I'm saying there, we know of one ape. We know of an ape where there's only been like two sightings of it ever. One was shot, and that's the only amount of information we know about this type of ape.
Yeah, like, there's been. I'm not saying it's not, but like, there
Yeah,
is plenty of stuff that we don't know about or we assumed. Like the coelacanth was or coelacanth was another one where it was like assumed to be this ancient fish or whatever that died out millions and millions of years ago, and then we've like found them like I don't know, probably within 20 to 30 years ago. And we're like, oh, I guess it's still alive. And it was supposedly like a fish from millennia ago, based on sedimentary stuff and all that. So it's possible, but I don't have any information to go really one way or the other. Is kind of my thing.
okay. Yeah, maybe we should probably talk about this another time. But all I know is that the Native Americans, for the most part, believe that Bigfoot was a thing. Granted, they didn't have very good technology when the Westerners showed up. Neither did the Westerners, by the way. They just had slightly better technology.
Yeah, they had
But
that boomstick.
yeah, the boomstick and metal armor makes a pretty big difference.
Yes, it does.
But my point is if the natives can say, if the natives of America who've been here forever say that there has been a Bigfoot or there were Bigfoot, then there probably is something out there. I'm not saying that there definitely is. I'm saying that I think that there is a real possibility. I have also talked to hunters and loggers who claim to have seen Bigfoot. Granted, they could be seeing just a bear with mange, or maybe just a bear itself, or maybe these guys could have been stoned while they saw it. But I don't know. I think in general, where there's smoke, there's fire.
Yeah, yeah, that's true. So,
Okay, would you like to move on to our next topic, or do you want to keep talking about Bigfoot here?
no, I'm good, but we gotta discuss who's probably hanging out with Bigfoot right now, and that's Stefan Molyneux, because he just up and disappeared from everywhere. No, in actuality, he got banned from YouTube. Was it just YouTube, or was it a bunch of platforms?
I looked him up. I could find him on BitChute, but that's the only place I could find him. I didn't do a thorough search though, so I'm sure he's in other places as well. But BitChute is the only place that I can find him.
Yeah, so the social media giants did their character assassination, or not character assassination, that's a different term, but they wiped him from the internet. They tried to make him go away. BitChute's usually a pretty good holdout in terms of being allowed to upload your stuff there. Um, so he probably has a place there for the time being. But uh, yeah, it's a good example of why you should create your own platforms and stuff, especially if you have a following like Stefan Molyneux. I did see a post from him. He's gonna go and try to. He's encouraging people to go to freedomain.com, which is his own website. So he does at least have that. But um, yeah, there's actually a book I need to read called Anti-Fragile by something Talib. Maybe it's just Talib. I don't remember. Or Talib. No, I think it's Talib. Um,
Okay.
and he goes through how to kind of set up yourself to make sure that if something like this happens, in Stefan Molyneux's case, you it's not really a setback. It's just like, all right, well, we lost that front or whatever, and we'll just keep kind of going. But I know you follow him quite a bit. So, any thoughts, any eulogies that you'd like to say?
Yeah, I want to point out I have followed him a lot less in recent days, mostly just because I'm busy. And frankly, I mean, I think he makes a lot of really good points in a lot of the things he does say. However, I think he says a lot of the same thing, kind of over and over again. Even when he has his own debates with, for example, communists or Marxists or socialists. It seems like he is always making the same points, and most of his debatees or the people he's debating with, they seem to make the same kind of points as well. So I just haven't seen a lot of new information in the last 3 years of watching him. But
Yeah,
anyway,
I've seen that
yeah,
happen. Most of the time when that happens, it's like people are stuck in a holding pattern because there's certain things they can't admit. So like his big thing is like, oh, the state's the worst thing ever and stuff like that. We're currently seeing how that's like not the case, right? Because it's like, okay, well, who censored you? Is it the state? No, it was YouTube. It like the idea that the government is the worst thing ever, or that the idea that you can get rid of government and you won't have things that act as the government when you get rid of it is foolhardy. And then there's a couple other that I haven't listened to them in a while, but there's a couple other things here and there that just kind of you end up kind of if you can't admit certain things, you can't keep progressing and evolving your arguments and stuff like that, and then it just kind of becomes a regurgitation thing, and it you end up in some kind of ideology, and we're all at fault at this in some degree or another. Even people who are like on this conspiracy theory side kind of end up going down that rabbit hole super hardcore, and they just can't like stop, right? They just gotta it kind of like keep traumatizing themselves about like how many lies there are out there or whatever, constantly, and
yeah,
it's not
absolutely.
really good for you. um,
Yeah, I
but
agree with
yeah,
that.
but the saddest thing for me with Stefan Molyneux, like I saw his post about like, oh, it's like we can talk this through or whatever, and it's just like, d- d- it's like, dude, do you not get that we're in a war right now and like we need to fight? It it just drives me insane. It's
Well, his big thing is the non-aggression principle. He believes that you cannot go initiate force against someone who's not initiating force against you. For example, you can't go attack someone, but if someone goes and attacks you, then you have right of self-defense with minimum force. So the kind of the English common law sort of deal.
Yeah, but like, see, that's the thing that drives me insane. Is like, all right, he's a really smart person, and he can't see the fact that that's a massive Achilles heel that everyone's just going to use against him. Because the people that he's fighting don't care. They're not rational people. All they care about is how can I get more power? How can I win this fight? Right? So like
Yeah, for the
he
most part.
he's like talk so like on YouTube he's like, "Oh, we can talk this out or whatever," instead of being like, "I will now sue you." You
Mm.
know? It's like you just took away my livelihood. You took away a bunch of and I don't know if there's a certain there's a very particular setup that needs to happen to make it so that he can sue YouTube, but I'm guessing um, if he had super chats enabled and all that stuff, that he would have a grounds to sue YouTube. So, but it's just he doesn't seem like he wants to do it. It's like I don't know, like he just doesn't have like this fighter instinct, and it kind of makes me sad. Um,
No, I think he does have a fighter instinct. It's so hear me out. PragerU currently has a lawsuit against YouTube because the question right now is YouTube, is Google a publisher or a platform?
I think they already lost that, unless there's another one.
No, I thought it was a new one. Well, you know what? I might be wrong about that.
Was it like the freedom of speech one?
Um, you know what? Let's actually look it up right now. Let's take a second and look at publisher versus platform. We need a Jamie, by the way,
We need a what?
for YouTube. A Jamie, like on the Joe Rogan podcast, where someone could be fact checking
Oh,
us as we speak.
dude, we're both at our computers. It takes 5 seconds. But so there was a lawsuit that I heard. Well, you looked that up. There was a lawsuit that PragerU filed against like YouTube or maybe just Google, someone where they're like, "Oh, you're censoring like conservatives and stuff like that," and they lost it because their argument was terrible. It was the classic conservative like pretend to make a fight and then lose. Right? You're the Washington Generals versus the Globetrotters. You're not actually supposed to win, and they're just the worst. I mean, PragerU is awful anyway because he's an absolute Zionist. But um, yeah,
Yeah, yeah. I mean, even like let's say that PragerU is the worst thing in the world, or Stefan Molyneux is the worst thing in the world.
I don't have as much
I'm
contempt
not
for Stefan Molyneux. I just think he
sure,
could advance his ideas more.
sure. I'm not making either of those two stances. However, I think that if it is a if it is a platform and not a publisher, then I think that pretty much everyone should be able to speak on it, as long as they're not breaking the law. And by that, I mean inciting violence towards a group of people or something like that. Um, shouting fire in a crowded movie theater. And I don't know. I'm not sure how to put this. I think that, for example, I don't like communists. I think that Marxism is not a great ideology. However, I would be happy to debate a Marxist. I'd be happy to have a Marxist or a communist, or to a lesser extent, like a socialist. I'm saying lesser extent too, maybe not as bad. Socialist on our podcast to debate with us. Um, I don't know. I think it is interesting that YouTube is going to go more of the publisher route because I think that that is suicide for them.
Well, yes and no. So they have to completely change how they run YouTube if they're gonna do that. Otherwise, they will be sued into the ground. Because currently there is basically if they go the publisher route, then everyone who's uploaded a DMCA copied uh, file or whatever, like music that they didn't have the rights to and all that stuff that's
Sure.
on YouTube, they get sued by every one of those people for each of those instances. So
Mm.
that's and they have like because it's not really worth going after like the random YouTuber who's got like 5 subscribers and uploads like your discography onto their website.
Yeah, what are you
Uh,
gonna do? Sue them and take their Volkswagen Beetle from the '70s?
yeah, like it's just there's no money there, right? But Google and YouTube now they got money. Now YouTube loses a shit ton of money every year, but Google makes plenty of money because of their um, monopoly on or duopoly with Facebook on online advertising.
Yeah. With
So
that being said, though, I mean, money. Even if you have money saved up, and if you have a lot of money coming in, if everyone starts suing you, you're gonna get your pants sued right off eventually.
yeah, but like so, but like the PragerU and all that, like they go about it the like completely wrong way. Like so currently, who is it? Owen Benjamin and Vox Day are suing Patreon. Well, Owen Benjamin specifically suing Patreon, and I think I'm actually part of that lawsuit. Not the original one, but like the secondary one that we're filing right now. Which is so there's ways you have to go about attacking these people, and you have to attack them on the lines that are available to you. Now I'm no lawyer. I haven't done and read into the legalistic things, but a couple of things that you can go specifically on people for. And interestingly enough, this is a good one of the good things about California is California has some of the best consumer protection laws in the country. And because all these Silicon Valley companies are located there, and because they do business across the entire United States, if you are if there's an issue that comes up, you get to sue them in California and use the best consumer protection laws against them. So, two of the things that you can get them on
Interesting.
pretty consistently is deceptive practices. So where they will I'm trying to think of the situation that came up. Basically, they'll change their terms of service to make it something that's not possible, right? It's like you aren't allowed to sue us or arbitrate against us or something like that. And it's like, well, that's your right as a U.S. citizen to be able to bring a legal action against them at some point. You can't just have in your contract you're never allowed to take legal action against us. That's not allowed. um, so they'll do things like that, and that's not exactly what happened. And then another
Okay.
one is tortious interference. So a place like YouTube and Patreon and stuff like that, they're supposed to be a
Oh, can you
platform.
explain that to me real quick?
Yeah, that's what I'm doing. So tortious interference is they're a platform, and what they're doing is they're just bringing two parties together to be able to exchange um, money. So your only role as that platform is you are bringing two people together to do exchange in the marketplace. You are the marketplace, the square in which the marketplace is set. And
Hey,
so,
Andrew. Just real quick, I think that the connection might be a little bit goofy. I don't think it's on my side. I think it might be on your side. So I think you might want to re-say whatever.
oh, did I cut out or something?
Yeah, you cut out pretty bad. So it sounded like you were on a good pace there, but I did not hear what you said for the last probably 30 seconds.
Okay. So, so yeah. All right. So tortious interference. So what it is, basically, it's when a third party interferes with your exchange of goods between two consenting parties. So basically, I want to buy something from you, and we use PayPal to do it, right? And then,
Sure.
but then if PayPal reverses that exchange of goods, and as long as it's a legal exchange of goods, like if they find out that I traded drugs or something, then they can split this up and bring this to the authorities and stuff like that. But if it was like I wanted to buy a book off of you, and then you sent me the book, I sent you money via PayPal, and then PayPal decided, oh well, we don't like that book, and so therefore, uh, you can't exchange this, and you just like cut off the thing. They're not allowed to do that because they don't have a stake in what the exchange is. They are just there to facilitate the exchange. And so this is
Yeah.
something that a bunch of people get in trouble for when they deplatform people. Because if Stefan Molyneux had any YouTube subscribers where they have a system where you can, or it's not subscribers, but basically there's a system where you can pay to be a part of his channel, right? Like it's like Twitch subscribers, but I don't know what the YouTube calls it. Um,
It's a
so
subscription. Yeah.
Yeah. But where you're paying money, it's not like
You know,
the
it's
button
just
you hit for free. So like by them banning him, they have interfered with
no. I know what
those
you're saying.
people being able
Like
to
Tim Pool
support
has
him,
that. Yeah.
and so therefore they are now legally liable for that. So like good example of people who don't get in trouble is someone like Twitter. Twitter bans people all the time, and there's no real legal recourse because it's just a base platform where it's like you can say what you want unless we deem it not okay, and then we'll ban you for whatever. But there's no legal action there because it's like they have the private company protection. They got some other stuff now because of the recent changes that Trump did to the 203C, where he's like, well, you're editorializing, when that was something that people have been pushing for a long time. You need to stop doing this editorializing because now you're acting as a publisher and not a platform. That could bring legal action against them. But until that point, they uh, that wasn't a thing.
Okay. Yeah, I understand what you're saying. I believe I understand what you're saying.
So
Um,
yeah,
yeah, well, Stefan Molyneux is also a foreigner, right? He's a Canadian, and I'm not sure how the legal process works for that. How you can go and sue across literal country lines.
it actually works in your favor, I think.
How would that
because
happen?
because the thing is YouTube and Google and all those like Silicon Valley companies are international companies, and so therefore they have to comply with not just the laws in the United States, they have to comply with the laws in every state they operate in.
Mhm.
And so that's where like so California's consumer protection laws are good. The EU's are like even more extreme. And so like if you want to rake one of these companies over the coals, you can take them to an EU court and really wreck them. I don't exactly know what needs to happen for that to go through because I think if the offense is against a party that's in the United States, so if it's like if both parties are if the company's an international company but the offense is against someone in the United States, then they would have to use United States law. If the offense is against someone in Europe, then they would potentially have to use European laws. Um,
I see.
but it's not something I look into that much or have that much knowledge. It's just other people that I follow have been kind of bringing these lawsuits against these people, so I have some kind of tangential knowledge from what they're doing.
Yeah, yeah, no, I understand that. Oh, by the way, I want to make a correction. Earlier, I think I said the wrong name for the Teddy Roosevelt guy. I think his name is Bauman, not whatever I said. I think I said Beorn. I think that Beorn is actually a character from The Hobbit. But anyway, side point, main point, Bauman, not Beorn. Also, I want to say that I did look it up, and PragerU has had their case thrown out twice now. Once in 2019, and once this year, in February 26, according to Slate.com. Another
Yeah,
court throws out PragerU's preposterous YouTube lawsuit. So,
it
thank
kind
God
of
they
is.
left
Like
in the matter.
Slate.com's obviously like slanted in how they present stuff, but like I'm
A
pretty
bit.
sure their lawsuit is pretty preposterous in how because
I don't think it is though. Like
well
either you're a
look,
publisher or a platform.
it's one thing. Well, the thing is, that law didn't exist till like a week ago, or maybe like or before this month.
Wait. I think you're wrong about that. I believe that I think this came back as early as the '80s when we decided as a nation that these companies, such as YouTube or Google or whatever, is not responsible for anything that its users say, because they're a platform. Like the public square is not responsible for the words that are spoken in the public square.
Yeah,
So
no. I'm
yeah.
not saying like what I'm saying is the revoking of those protections happened recently.
Ah, I see. Now I understand what you're
Um, and here's the thing, I haven't looked at their lawsuit super carefully, but from what I've seen from it is their whole thing. So it's like, uh, what is it? Defamation happens all of the time, but it's super hard to prove, and therefore rarely is an actionable item to a certain degree.
I've heard
There,
it's a lot better in the UK, and in America, it's pretty much impossible.
yeah. So my point is, their lawsuit kind of falls under that, where it's like what they're saying might be true, but how do you create an actionable thing in a court? And there's nothing really there in terms of, yeah, their lawsuit doesn't really fill that.
Well, what do you mean by actionable?
So it's like, do you have like the specifics on what their lawsuit's about?
I could pull it up.
Let me see if I can find something here.
Okay. No, I'm getting a lot of articles saying that that the judge or judges now have tossed the lawsuit out. I am not getting the actual lawsuit though. All right, maybe if we go to prageru.com. This could also be something we just talk about a little later. We could maybe.
Here we go. No, I found it.
Yep.
Okay.
Yep.
So here's like a short synopsis on the. I'm guessing this is the first throw. No, this is the second one. So YouTube may have more than 1 billion users, but it is not a public forum run by the government, and therefore its decision to moderate content is not a violation of the First Amendment, and appellate court has ruled.
Well, I understand that, but I think that is a flawed conclusion because, for example, if I go online, if anyone goes online and buys a book, right, you have to sell it to them. And YouTube is a service. It's not a product, but it's illegal to not sell a product to someone based off of pretty much anything, as far as I can tell. As long as they're legally allowed to own. I mean, I know there's like firearms and
Yeah, but
you
like
can't have a firearm if you have a criminal record.
that's like saying that a store owner has to carry every item in existence just because it exists.
I don't think it's saying that. I think it's saying that if the store is carrying something and they have it in stock and they can sell it to you right then, assuming that no one else has called dibs on it already, that they have to sell it to you. I don't think we're allowed to discriminate against anyone for pretty much any reason in this country. Although I have seen a lot of stores say we reserve the right to refuse service to anyone, but that doesn't always work. For example, the Christian baker, I think it was in Colorado, who I think has a second lawsuit against him now for refusing to do this time I think it was a lesbian cake, if I'm remembering correctly.
This is a trans cake.
Trans cake? Yeah, well, there you have it.
Yeah, and it was obviously a frivolous lawsuit, but it'll probably get taken up because our court system's completely corrupted. But regardless,
Well, my point is I think it is an the law is not being applied evenly, and I would suggest that if you have to sell anyone your products, then you should probably also have to give anyone your service. I'm not sure. That's actually not a fully baked through argument that I've got in my head there.
Let me finish this whole article quick. It's pretty short.
Go for it.
Okay, so I'll start over. YouTube may have more than 1 billion users, but it's not a public forum run by the government, and therefore its decision to moderate content isn't a violation of the First Amendment, and appellate court has ruled. Radio talk show Dennis Prager sued Google, claiming that his conservative PragerU videos weren't getting the same treatment as liberal ones. The real time with Bill Maher clips in violation of the First Amendment. A California federal judge dismissed the complaint on March 28th on grounds that YouTube isn't a public forum run by a state actor and can regulate videos uploaded to the site as it sees fit. On Wednesday, the Ninth Circuit Appeals upheld the decision and rejected PragerU's contention that the site has become a digital era public forum and its powers to moderate content is a threat to fair dissemination of conversation viewpoints in the public. Using private property as a forum for public discourse is nothing new, cites Circuit Judge Margaret McNown. Long before the internet, people posted announcements on neighborhood bulletin boards, debated weighty issues on coffee houses, and shouted each other down in the community theaters. While these methods seem quaint compared to the 400 hours of video uploaded to YouTube each day, the underlying issue doesn't change. Despite the YouTube's ubiquity and its role as a public-facing platform, it seems private forums, not public forums, subject to judicial scrutiny under the First Amendment, writes McNown. Adding the First Amendment and Supreme Court precedent presents insurmountable barriers to PragerU's argument. Just last year, the court held that merely hosting speech by others is not a traditional, exclusively public function and does not allow transform private entities into state actors subject to the First Amendment constraints. Writes McNown, the internet does not alter the state action required for the First Amendment. The fact that many sound legal challenges to the tech giants doesn't mean that there's a good idea to rely upon the ridiculous First Amendment-based challenge to them. Indeed, these arguments are so obviously retarded that they almost appear designed to fail in order to demoralize anyone attempting to stand against the corpocracy. It's not a surprise that the inversions like Prager would rely upon attempting to subvert the definition of public forum in order to make a failed case. So that's my point. It's
so one second. What article did you just read?
It's from Vox Day's blog. I can send you the link quick.
Okay, you might just want to say the article title.
Another reason to ignore PragerU on Vox Day's blog. Just search PragerU on Vox Day's blog. It'll pop up.
All right, cool.
Yeah,
but that really does turn them into a publisher, though, doesn't it?
Okay.
I know this is a bit of a circular conversation at this point, but it
so
really
imagine
does,
you have you have a theater, right, and you're hosting a debate.
Sure.
And then some people just started screaming out in the middle of the debate, and just like, and then like you kick them out, and then you're like, oh, freedom of speech, man. No, that's obviously retarded. Now they're abusing that.
A public square. It's just different corners of the public square, isn't it?
No, they're a private company. Like, and I hate that argument, but like in this case, it applies. The heck?
I think we will have to. I do not think I am adequately armed to defend that position. I think I am right, but I'd be happy to have a debate on that in the future.
Well, okay,
like the next round.
Look. You don't have to be perfectly like knowledgeable in everything. Like, what's your holdup?
My holdup is. So now we have a public square, right? We have YouTube and we have Twitter, right?
But it's not public. That's the whole argument.
Okay. Yeah, I hear your argument, but one sec. So on Twitter, we have the President of the United States on Twitter, right? And he makes all sorts of comments, and he can respond to pretty much any article that either slanders him or criticizes him, maybe even correctly. And I think if we are banning people from being able to see what the president is posting, I think it leaves a lot of our community in the dark, and I think that it is not really right. So I mean, I think it's wrong. Morally, I think it's wrong.
I don't disagree with you there. What I'm saying is, under the current legal framework that we have, this lawsuit was never going to succeed.
Okay.
That's my argument. Not that the First Amendment's being infringed, or like that there's clearly a problem with them censoring people and trying to kind of put the genie back in the bottle, as it were, because they lost control when the internet came out. Because it used to be super easy to gatekeep information, because they owned all the newspapers and they owned all the press, or all the
they own the printing press, effectively,
and all the news outlets. That's no longer the case, and they really don't like that. But
Yeah,
they
absolutely.
do, they have been able to centralize to a certain extent through YouTube, Twitter, Facebook, and Amazon. Though they're not so much a um,
No,
play.
my other argument
They're a
though
little
is like,
different, but
yeah, for example, Amazon, if you're going to buy a book, you're probably going to buy it on Amazon. I mean, I buy some of my books at eBay, but no one really uses eBay anymore, at least not like they used to.
mm-hmm.
So if you ban a book from Amazon, then you've effectively banned the book for the country.
Yep. I
And
mean, they just
and
did that. They just did that to E. Michael Jones. I was about to buy like one of his books, and then I was like, all right, well, I finally like had enough money or felt like, all right, I'm willing to spend. And then I like went to look for the book, and it just wasn't there. I was like, what the hell happened? And so I went to his website, fidelitypress.com, to get the book directly. So if there's some people that for some reason are watching this and don't know about E. Michael Jones or are watching this and haven't heard the E. Michael Jones update somehow,
sure.
um, but yeah, all his stuff got wiped, and now But like that's the thing where I was talking about with Stefan Molyneux earlier, is he had a backup website. He got wiped off of Amazon. Sure, he's not gonna do sales on Amazon anymore. But guess what? Now he just gets 20% more of his money, and the people that really care about him are gonna go to his site, right? I went to his website, bought all the books anyway. I went directly to his site instead of going through Amazon because
Sure.
it's a little less convenient, sure, but who cares? And I was still gonna buy most of the book. The only thing I was kind of upset about is I was gonna buy a book that for some reason wasn't available on his website. It was only available through Amazon.
They are doing everything in their power to silence his voice, though. I'm not saying his voice is right, but I'm saying they're doing everything in their power to silence their voice, because YouTube is really where you go if you want to get, I don't know, either audio or media of any sort.
Yeah, but here's the thing, like,
So wait,
ex-
actually, one second. Let me try to summarize your argument
okay,
and
yeah, sorry.
tell me if I am correct. And you're totally fine. So you're saying that what they're doing is morally not correct because everyone should be able to speak if we have a platform like that. And I understand it is a public company. There's no debate on that. So you're saying what they're doing is morally wrong, but under our law, they have every right to do it. Is that correct?
Yeah, I don't even know if it's necessarily morally wrong. Yeah, it's probably morally wrong. It's subversive at the very least.
Yeah. I mean, my point mainly is that I've been exposed to a lot of ways of thinking that I probably would not have been exposed to. I probably would have stayed within the own confines of the people around me for the most part had I not had something like YouTube, where I can go and check out, oh, hey, what does this Marxist think? Or what does this anarchist think? Or what does this Republican or Democrat or conservative or liberal or libertarian think? I think YouTube really is a very powerful tool for learning. I don't know about you. When I was in college, I learned most of my material from YouTube professors. Sometimes they would speak Hindi, but their math was so spot on that I couldn't not watch their videos.
Yeah, I didn't use well, I use it for learning now, but in college I didn't use it so much. I don't know why.
Ah,
'Cause
dude, it's the best.
But here's the thing. That's what they hate because they want you in your little prison, your little mental cage. They don't want you to be able to find all these things and discover that, you know, Bigfoot might be out there or um, a million other lies that we've been told about our world around us and just how things work or imagining different ways to because it's like the classic 1984 thing, and it's not that we're in 1984. It's the fact that it's always been that way, right? It's if
We've
you
always been at
control
war with
people's
generation.
thoughts and
Yep.
what they can think and what they can say, then or if you control what people say, and the words that are exist in the world. So part of what they're trying to do is they're trying to invent newspeak. If you're not familiar with the book, where it parsed down the words so that you could there's a very limited set of words within the language, and that limited set of words makes it so you can only it limits the range of thought, because if you can't think of things or say things like if the word communism doesn't exist, and or various other things, if there's no words to describe what a zebra is, it's hard to like describe what it is. And it's even more so with abstract concepts like communism or democracy, things like that. Uh, and so that helps kind of keep people in their little cages. And they're always trying to do this, and they'll never succeed because the devil always loses. That's the great thing.
Whoever
That's the
controls,
good news, guys.
yep, whoever controls the media controls the mind. Jim Morrison.
Yeah. But the thing is,
Yeah,
they always lose. So just keep going, keep grinding, keep learning, keep doing your thing. Uh, and yeah,
yes. I mean, you're correct. I think you are correct that the truth always does surface. For example, that war we got into with Vietnam, the Vietnam War, it looks like that was a total hoax. The little missile boat or the torpedo boat that the North Koreans, or sorry, not North Koreans, the Viet Cong had that shot at one of our warships, it looks like that was a complete and total hoax. So the truth got out there, but it got out there a little bit late.
yeah, that's how it always works. I mean,
Well, yes,
the
but
naval
how many
captain
dead
of that
Americans?
ship was Jim Morris's dad, who's the lead guitarist of Rush. And the instant that boat gets retired, he dies.
Oh,
The lead singer of Rush, not the captain.
yeah, no, I understand what you're saying. Yeah, but my point is that information does need to get out in a timely manner, or I mean, the devil may lose in the end. By that we can mean that I think that you mean that the information will always get out there. The truth will always be revealed.
Yeah.
But for example, I would never say to someone that your service in Vietnam was for nothing. I would never say that. I am extremely anti-war. I do not think war is a good thing in virtually any situation.
Why
But
not say that though?
say it again.
Why not say it
Well,
was like that war
so
was fought for no real reason? We
yeah,
just
you're
killed a bunch.
correct.
It sucks that you had to go through that and all that stuff. And like, but there's no reason. It's just like our current wars. It's like, yeah, sure, you were a puppet of the system, and you probably
Andrew.
didn't know that. Like, it's one thing
Yeah,
to say like
mhm.
it's not really on. It's one thing to know something and then act in that way despite knowing that it's like wrong or evil or stuff like that. It's another to like not know or think you're doing good, and then like you find out later, oh, I shouldn't have done that kind of thing, and then changing your
Yeah.
behavior so you don't do it again.
Yeah, in order to be evil, you have to have knowledge that you are doing evil. Yeah, I understand that. I buy that argument. I think that argument is correct.
Yeah, and not even like knowledge of doing evil. It's like knowledge of doing evil and saying it's good, right?
Oh,
Like
yeah,
because I
that's
make mistakes all the time where it's like I know I shouldn't do this, but I want that donut.
yeah, yeah. You ate a Big Mac or something like that. You got off your fast. You got off your diet. Yeah, everyone makes these mistakes. But
Yeah,
I'm saying the difference between that is you're not violating the non-aggression principle. To go back to what Stefan Molyneux believes in, and to a large degree, what I believe in. If you force someone else to eat a donut when they're trying to do ketosis, that's way different. Like if you lock someone in your basement, you give them a donut. I mean, you just violate the non-aggression principle on most conceivable levels there. But what I'm saying is, in Vietnam, I wouldn't say to someone if someone had been a soldier, especially if they had been a Marine or a Green Beret or something like that, where they had been in really intense conflict, I wouldn't judge them. I wouldn't say that what you did doesn't mean anything. And the reason for that is because actually, shoot, what is my reason for that? It's I think it would just be cruel because most of these men were put in, they were drafted, they were put in a position that they didn't want to be in, and they did horrible things by no fault of their own. I would say that's probably the majority of them.
yeah, no, I get like it. I understand it's not a nice thing to say to those people, and it's kind of harsh. But the thing is, if you say that kind of stuff, it can allow them to get over certain things that they wouldn't otherwise be able to potentially. It's like, yeah, you went over there, you maybe killed some people, you maybe did some messed up stuff, you saw some stuff that you wish you'd never seen. But if we don't
Yeah.
acknowledge the fact that we shouldn't have been over there to begin with, and instead are like, oh no, we did a good thing or whatever, uh, then we have no defenses for the next one, right? This is
Okay.
one of the
Yeah. Yeah.
reasons
I
why we're
understand.
in Vietnam, or not Vietnam, Afghanistan right now. Like, because we didn't have anything to, in Iraq. Actually, Iraq's the more egregious one. Because we didn't have anything to say, no, we're not going to do this again. But we do now, actually, interesting, because they were beating the war drum super hard for us to go to war with Iran. And the American people were like, nah. And then we
Yeah.
did.
For all of his many faults, Trump has kept us out of a new war.
Yeah, but it's also the spirit of like Trump has done that, but it's also the spirit of the people has changed, right? Because
Oh, do you think
he
so? Do you think
follows.
America had? Yeah.
He's a
What about?
politician, and all politicians just follow the crowd to a certain extent, right? So we were like,
To an
we're
extent.
not going to war, Trump, and Trump's like, yeah, all right. But like in general, he's not a warmongering person as well. I mean, he's put every fucking possible war hawk neocon around him, which is frustrating.
Yes, it is.
But despite those terrible decisions, he has not gone to war.
Yeah, he hasn't gone to war, but I would say that the American people didn't have a stomach for Libya either. The Libya thing was a bit crazy. You know, there's open market, open air slave markets in Libya now, which there was not in the past, and it was a fairly stable region before, and now it's not. I
Yeah,
don't think that the American people wanted that to happen, and I'm saying that I don't
but the
think
thing
the
is, you can
American people
only do
wanted it
that
to
under a
happen in
Barack
the time.
Obama presidency. Like, you could have never invaded Libya under a Trump presidency because people are so laser focused on like everything that's going on right now
Sure.
that like because I can almost guarantee you because um Obama was like a good orator and like he just had like this way of talking and stuff like that that
He
generally
was an
just kind of
excellent
made people
spokesman.
like he's a good guy kind of thing and a lot of that had to do with like how the media presented him and a bunch of other crazy lies and stuff like that but like the truth of the matter is he had this effect on people where it was like and myself included where it was like everything's probably fine and just no one ever paid attention. No one ever really held him accountable outside of like a couple of people here and there. But like most people treated politics back then, and I think for the most part they still do, but it's a little different now, where it's like politics is gay and I'm gonna not pay attention. And because he was able to keep Libya kind of under wraps and secret, and then also just because various other things were going on. Like people just didn't really care. They weren't paying attention. There's no draft going on, so nobody cared. Like it's not my kids getting sent over and killed or whatever. Because all that stuff's going on, everyone's kind of checked out and they're like, hey, whatever. And we're also not. Another aspect of it is we're not losing that many people. Like if we had the casual, like I think 1 month in Vietnam we lost like 30,000 people or something. I don't remember. Like we're losing like 3 people a month, and yeah, it's sad and stuff like that. But like, if we had casualty rates somewhere closer to like a World War II level or even Vietnam level, like people would not put. And if there was a draft, people would not put up with a shit.
Oh yeah, no. The drafts are always unpopular. I can't think of a situation where a draft was not popular or was popular.
Well, I mean, it clearly was popular to a certain extent, or they would never have been able to get implemented, right?
Well, there's a lot of people who fled to Canada and all that.
Sure, but like, well, yeah, during Vietnam when it was like on the way out. But the thing is, the think about when drafts are implemented. It's when the national fever is at like its height, and people are like, "Our nation's the best. We want to go kick some butt. Let's go start a war and get all of our men drafted up and go blow the crap out of somebody." Because it
Yeah,
started
but you have
with
to have a lot of propaganda to do that. You have to have a lot of I don't know, for lack of a better word, brainwashing into thinking that these people are your enemy and that these people are evil and they must be destroyed.
yeah, but I mean like just okay. So like let's take when the first draft was instituted. So the first draft was instituted in the Napoleonic Wars by Napoleon.
Okay.
And they had like a good reason to do the draft, right? Because it was before he decided to build an entire empire. Um, they were at war with all of Europe because the French Revolution happened. All the monarchs got freaked out and were like, "This is not okay. We don't want this to happen." It's the classic. Uh, it's kind of like what happens with Democrats and Republicans, where they're like, "Oh, we hate each other," and they're always like arguing and stuff like that. But like when they're uh, when a bailout needs to happen for the banks, they all come together and they're best friends. You know, it's kind of like the
Yeah.
same thing. It's like, oh, us European nations, we absolutely hate each other, and us monarchs are against these monarchs, and it's the worst, even though they're all part of the Habsburg family. But that's a side point.
Yeah, but I want to point out 1939, as this is according to PolitiFact, that 12% of the German population were National Socialists, or as we call them, Nazis. So
Yeah.
I don't think you have to have that large of a percent of the population to be totally sold on something to get everyone to go into something. For example, I don't think that
Only
the
like 3% of the population ever fights.
yeah, it's able-bodied men um, throughout all of history for the most part.
Yeah, I mean,
So
like, look,
yeah,
my grandpa was
it's a
drafted into World
yeah,
War II and went through and
same.
I don't, I think he saw like maybe 2 days of combat, and I don't think he shot anybody based on like the reports of like
Yeah,
their where they went through and when they saw combat and stuff like that. So it's just like that's the majority. Like, you have the people that like stormed D-Day and like were just like frontline the whole time,
yeah.
and that wasn't even necessarily the case because at least the Allies did a pretty good job of rotating the soldiers in and out. So it's just like most people don't see like, and I think that's something that kind of people forget about when they're thinking about like potential future war or conflict type things that might happen in the United States or something like that. Is logistics is way more important than owning a gun to a certain extent. Like,
Oh yeah, if you can't get
having a
bullets
gun
for
and
your
owning
gun,
a
you're
gun
gonna be real.
is good and all, but having the infrastructure and the logistics and um, the institutions to be able to support the war effort are what are going to keep your fighting people able to fight. I think the breakdown is. So there was actually a pretty good video I watched on it a while back, and I think in Afghanistan the breakdown is like 90% support people and like 10% fighting people. And that's of the
Yeah.
people that are involved in the conflict, which is only like a
Are you talking
small
about
percentage of the
Americans or Afghans?
population on top of that.
Or are you talking about Americans or Afghanis though?
Afghanis.
Okay, yep, understand.
So yeah, so like the insurgency, it's like 10% of the population is, or no, it's like 5% of the population is part of the insurgency. And then of that 5%, 90% of it is just like people that have like a safe house that someone can use, or
Yeah,
they
yeah,
give some money to get war supplies, or they set up a cache to for people to pick up weapons or whatever. And then only 10% of the people are actually out there fighting and killing people and stuff like that. And
yeah.
so that's something you kind of need to keep in mind with like these conflicts that are maybe coming to a city near you is, you know, sending
Let's
supplies
get
to the
on
war
that, by the
front
way, for sure.
is just as important and keeps those people and keeps the war front away from you, also importantly, then you don't necessarily have to be on the front line with a gun. So I don't
Yeah,
remember
no,
what
I
this original
agree.
topic was on.
No, I agree. I mean, being on a front line with a gun, that's pretty much means that you have, well, you need to have all of your logistics figured out, or your guy with a rifle is going to run out of ammo, he's going to run out of food, and he's going to be able to fight for what, a couple days, and he's really not going to be able to support himself. You have to have a job, and guns and ammo are expensive.
Yep, army marches on its stomach. I
Yes, it
think it was
does. Yep.
Napoleon that said that.
My favorite thing Napoleon said is that I'm paraphrasing the hell out of this, by the way, but you need to have enough liquor or booze in general for your army until they are so far outside of your territory that they don't have any practical way of getting back without the army.
Yeah. And yet
Which,
you'll still have deserters to a certain degree.
I
But
mean, you will. Anyway, so do you want to move on to our overview topic of the world is on fire?
yeah,
Not just old Vietnam politics and all that.
yeah. So, so there's Chop, and there was a pretty devastating. Uh, Chaz was what was it? Um, it ended how it started with police violence.
Yeah. Yeah.
So,
I don't know what else you do at that point, though.
so basically, somebody was driving through the area or next to the area. I don't exactly know. I didn't follow the story too closely. Um, and yeah, the people that were doing security duty in there just lit the thing up, and or lit the car up that was driving through. And then the person that was driving like wasn't dead yet, and then they went apparently and execution style like killed this guy, which that one seems a bit extreme. Like I haven't looked that closely, and a lot of times these stories are over embellished and stuff like that. Like the execution style makes it seem not that it didn't happen, but that seems like an over embellishment type thing. Like I could be wrong on that, but um, yeah, very
Also, so
sad.
what I've heard happened was, so I mean, there's a couple different shootings now, right? So I just want to talk about the car one. So it was a couple kids. I want to say 16 and 14. Don't quote me on that. Please do your own research. But they were driving into the Chaz, and I think they were driving a bit wild. And someone had told the CHOP, I don't know what to call them, security force, CHOP police force, whatever these guys are, that those guys have guns, and so they unloaded their rifles at this car for I think it was 10 minutes straight. In theory, like 300 rounds went to that vehicle. And the 16-year-old who died, by the way, his last words were, "I don't want to die." Not laughing because it's funny, just laughing because it's just horrible. Um, and the 14-year-old was severely wounded. And yeah, there was one of the security forces walked up to the vehicle and said, I can't remember to which child they said this to. They said, "Oh, you're still alive. You want to get pistol whipped."
Yeah, wasn't there
So
like a
pretty dark
live
stuff.
stream video of this happening?
There was, yep.
Yeah, so I mean, I guess in that regard, there's not a ton of dispute. Seems kind of weird. See, the thing is, like, sometimes there's false flags and stuff like that with this, but this one seems like it's probably not, just because it goes against the narrative so hard that
These
I
kids were black, I believe. I'm almost certain they were black.
yeah, well, like the thing is, the media wants Chaz to exist, right? And so this would be against that. I don't know. I haven't looked at it. I usually let to give this thing like 5 to 10 days to settle because usually there's about a billion more little factoids that come out in that time period.
Yeah, I've heard some reports saying that the vehicle that these kids were driving in was stolen, but I don't know if that's true. And even if it is stolen, right?
Why would the people of Chaz care if it was stolen?
Yeah, and let's say they did care. I don't think that most people want their car shot to Kingdom Come to get it back. I personally don't.
Yeah, I
I
mean,
don't
I'm
even.
sure insurance. I don't know. Does insurance cover bullet wounds or bullets?
I've honestly never given that a single moment worth of thought.
That's probably the normal thing to do.
Yeah.
uh, so, hmm.
Yeah, but
Uh,
anyway, that was a bit crazy.
yeah, basically it finally got shut down, which is what we expected. Rolled in. I don't. Did they use National Guard? Or did they just use the police?
From the videos I saw, it just looked like police officers
Okay. Yeah, no,
lined
I
up.
thought the National Guard was going to get deployed to Minneapolis area because that's where the whole rioting stuff started. I'm
Sure.
thinking the Seattle area is the one that's going to go full military lockdown first at this rate.
I don't know. I think they really. So not my argument, but I think that they really wanted the Jazz to be successful, like you were saying. I think it was the mayor said that it was going to be a summer of love. And let's say they have the best intentions, that they really want this to be great, and they wanted these people just to show how they can be self-sufficient and I don't know, good citizens of CHOP. I don't really know how to argue for that, but I'm trying to. And now they've sent police in to clear it all out.
Yeah. Well,
So
that's the thing.
yeah.
So they're basically wanting Trump to overextend his hand. So basically, what this whole thing, this whole psyop has been, is to try to get Trump to overextend his hand to make suburban white women flip out that he's using military force, and he's not doing it, which is
Yeah,
good.
I think it more than just. I mean, yeah, it might be that demographic and specific, but I think that a
They're just the most important. Here's the thing: if soccer moms
they're
are
the
on your
biggest.
side,
Yep.
then you get to do anything you want.
If I am not mistaken, I believe that is the largest voting demographic.
Yeah, well, it's just like the. Here's the thing: just think of like your typical like mom with like middle or not middle age, but with like teenage kids or maybe like
Yeah,
junior high kids or whatever.
yeah,
Like
late 30s, early
what
40s. Yep.
what generally they're like middle class, like what kind of atrocities are they willing to accept? And it's their threshold's usually the lowest out of society. So,
Well, yeah, I
if
mean,
you
I
get
think that
that to the
that's
point if you let these riots and stuff continue and keep building and keep pissing that group off to the point where they start asking the government they because they always make you beg for it, right? They get you to the point where they're like, somebody do something, government come in, fix this, right? Then
sure.
that's when you get to roll in with the military and you get to execute everybody in shop. And no, nobody bats an eye. In fact, nobody not even doesn't bat an eye. Everybody cheers that order has been restored, because the first and most important thing that every society needs is order. And once you have order, then you can establish everything else. But order is the
That is
most important thing.
the legitimate purpose of a government, I think, in general, to have stability. So you can't have trade in a war zone. You can't have manufacturing in a war zone. I mean, unless you're Russia and the Nazis have just invaded you. You need to have stability, or you won't have innovation. You won't have products getting made. If people can't trust that the dollar should be worth anything tomorrow, then yeah. So you need stability. You need people to feel safe.
Yeah. And so these things are threatening that stability, but A, all the places that are getting destroyed didn't vote for Trump anyway. So his base is not affected at all. And now he's kind of being like, this is what you voted for. Now, like, you made your bed, now lie in it, right? And you decided to cover your bed with shit. So
Yeah,
this
I
is what
believe
you
that
get
is
to
the
lie
narrative.
in.
Yeah. Yeah, he literally said that I think it was during his last rally that we just gotta sit back and watch it happen, watch it play out.
Yeah. And
His words, not mine, but yep.
I'm surprised it hasn't gotten there yet, but at a certain point it's going to hit a breaking point where they're like, where basically Trump's going to be able to come in and bring things back to order, and then we'll see what happens. And we'll see if the supposed Q storm happens. I'm dubious, but hopeful.
Could you give me and the audience a quick rundown of the Q storm?
So I don't follow it that closely at all. But basically, from what it sounds like, is it would be a complete. The storm is basically the draining of the swamp, from what I can tell. So it would be a gutting and arresting and trying for treason under military uh, law, and basically this is why we need martial law for this, because the court systems are obviously gone. If you saw the Supreme Court rulings from a week or two ago, where they basically decided that trans people have rights despite the fact that the law was written before trans people even existed, and they didn't do anything to say. They specifically ignored a bunch of Second Amendment violations that were laws that were done up by states, and didn't take those court cases on. And then they did two or three other weird things that just are clearly in violation of the Constitution by any normal reading of the Constitution. So
Well, sure. I mean, one sec, one sec, one sec. Let me just pause you there for a second. So, I mean, trans people, right? That's a thing. I've got some feelings about that. I'm not going to really divulge into them at the moment. But, I mean, granted, they should have rights like anyone else.
no, it was like
What are you talking about specifically?
it was like tying it to the Civil Rights Acts of 1964 or something like that. It's
Oh, I
like
see.
under
Yep.
these laws, trans people were clearly included despite them not existing then. It's like,
So, wait,
well, they didn't even exist when the law was written, so I don't know what you're talking about.
so are you suggesting like this is like more of a Title IX issue where
Eh,
they can go and play sports? Let's say biological born male can go play in a biological female league. Is that
Yeah,
what they have?
something like that. Let's see if I can get this to pop up. Here we
Yeah,
go.
I
Head of
want
Supreme
to
Court.
get
Here
into a
we go.
couple
This
of
is
things. Yep.
um so within 35 minutes today at 10 a.m. Eastern, some of what thought was the most conservative Supreme Court of all concocted a fundamental right to transgenderism in the context of labor law, erased the Second Amendment, and interfered with the state's death penalty case, but declined to interfere with California law that criminalized law enforcement cooperation with federal immigration agencies. Taken into totality, the conservative legal movement, which has promoted the idea of appointing better judges rather than fighting the entire concept of judicial supremacy, has failed miserably. This is what this was its Waterloo. Here is the brief summary of the four important decisions that and orders issued by the court today. The justices denied the certiorari to gun rights groups in 10 gun cases where states have claimed citizens the right to carry arms under any circumstances, which have denied citizens the right to carry arms under any circumstances. Justice Thomas dissented in the denial of the cert in New Jersey's right to carry case and was joined by Justice Kavanaugh. It takes 4 justices to agree to hear a case, and it's not clear which of the others would also have agreed but didn't sign on to the dissent. Despite the plain meaning of the Constitution 10 years after Heller and what the circuit split, the court refuses to act. In the U.S. versus California et al., the Supreme Court denied the petition of the Department of Justice to overturn the Ninth Circuit ruling upholding the California's sanctuary laws. California prohibits local enforcement from cooperating with federal immigration agents. Only Thomas and Alito would have granted the appeal. In what has become a growing trend of SCOTUS interfering with the few remaining capital punishment cases, the justices reprimanded a Texas capital case because they believed the accused did not have sufficient counsel. Alito dissented, joined by Thomas and Gorsuch. In a 6-3 opinion written by Gorsuch, the court ruled that Title, was that 8? No, 7 of the Civil Rights Act, which passed in 1964 before anyone could fathom transgenderism, applied to transgenderism and sexual orientation. Taken together, these decisions showed the court believes that there is an inalienable right to transgenderism and illegal immigration, but not to the Second Amendment. This court believes it can tamper with every state's criminal and capital conviction on ever-evolving novel grounds, but it somehow believes a state can criminalize foundational federal immigration powers.
Okay. And what is the source of that?
What is this? I got that off of Vox's blog, but the actual conservative review. Um, Horowitz conservatives get massacred by fake conservative SCOTUS. So yeah, so we're obviously not solving
Yeah.
this through the courts. So basically, you need Trump to basically become dictator, declare all these people that are actually treasonous, awful people to be treasonous, and then hang them all.
Well, I mean,
So
I suppose
we
that would
will
be the
see if
Caesar
that
thing to do.
happens.
Yeah, I mean,
Do you want
less
the link
bloodshed,
or
the
no?
better, always. But yeah, I hear what you're saying there. Yeah, that's interesting.
But before he can do that, he
But
has
no
to
further
get
comment.
everyone to cheer him on in being able to do that. And so
Which is not
that's
possible because
oh,
the
it's
country is so
possible.
divided right
That's what we're witnessing right now. Where
now. No,
he's
I think
letting
we're
disorder
the
take
opposite.
hold to such a degree that people will beg him to become Caesar. And once he becomes Caesar, then Caesar can act as Caesar.
Yeah, which even Marcus Aurelius was critical of Caesar, father of Stoicism, the Meditations.
I got that book now. I haven't started reading it yet, but I will be reading that soon.
Very good. I really want to talk to you about that. Want to go over the philosophy of that. I don't think it contradicts with any Christian ideology at all. I think it's a godless religion almost. But anyway, side
Greek
point, main
philosophy, Greek and I guess this is technically Roman philosophy, but
Roman.
gener- Christianity and Greek philosophy uh, are compatible, and they were synthesized together by Thomas Aquinas.
Yeah, Christian philosophy is a little bit interesting, especially like Christmas and all that. I believe
Well,
that was mostly the pagans on board with it, but
I guess it's
or the
not
pagans of
really
the area.
Christian philosophy is Greek philosophy. They basically took Greek philosophy and used it in Christianity.
All right. Yep. One second. Well, let's stay on the topic of the world being on fire.
Oh, yeah.
Um, but yeah, no, yeah, I agree that definitely we are a pretty divided country and that things are a bit crazy. And I think that this is probably the most likely that America's or the most this current situation with our current climate is the most likely that we would have a Caesar figure than in any other point in American history, other than maybe with the Civil War and maybe with the Great Depression.
See, the thing is,
But
though, like, I think we are definitely at, like, a boiling point transitional time in history, but we've had these happen before. Now, some people,
and we've gotten out of them before.
we have gotten out of them before. Now, there's
Good.
certain reasons to think we wouldn't get out of this one, and obviously, if you've pulled back from the brink, it only takes one time going over the brink, right? So it doesn't matter how many times you pulled back before, right? Um,
Yeah, it doesn't matter
but
how
like
many
in the
near-death
1920s,
experiences you
people
survived.
were like assassinating politicians and like bombing buildings and like there was like anarchists doing crazy shit back then. That's one of the reasons Teddy Roosevelt became president because he was never actually elected. He was the vice president, and then I forgot who he was serving under, but he was assassinated like pretty shortly
Yes.
after he took
Yep.
over.
Yeah, he was. Well, he definitely died.
Yeah.
Um, one thing that I find really interesting about these protests. So I don't know if are you on TikTok by any chance?
No, I barely do any social media as is. I mean,
Sure,
TikTok's
sure.
just the new Vine, right?
Yeah, it's effectively the same thing.
Except it's Chinese, so it's better.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, I think they did a pretty darn good job at it. But anyway, side point, main point, what I think is interesting is that on a lot of these videos, there's a little mock video, which is, I think, intended to be funny, where there's a man with a Ram pickup truck, and he's driving through, and he's getting stopped by all these protesters, right? And you have a ton of these protesters or rioters, I'm not sure what to call them at this point, um, but they'll get in front of the pickup truck, and people will surround the car, and they'll be beating on it. And to me, so knowing a little bit about history, I don't know everything, as you know. So Reginald Denny, so he was a man in the Rodney King riots in 1971. He was driving a real truck, a delivery truck, for like a company, I don't know, for like Walmart or something. And no, I don't think it was Walmart, but anyway, so he was pulled from his car and beaten savagely, and his skull was cratered, and he was not able to sue the city for any liability there. Anyway, side point, main point, knowing that that happened, I think it's pretty reasonable for anyone to say, I'm not going to get drug out of my car and beaten until I'm a vegetable. But what I don't understand, what I fundamentally don't understand, when you're in a Dodge Ram, you, for all practical purposes, you have all of the power in the known universe. No amount of people are going to stop you from moving forward. So I don't understand. Maybe we have like 10 people pushing on the front of this pickup, which would be quite a lot of people. And so let's say we're generating 1,000 pounds of force. That's absolutely nothing. Or even if it's 2,000 pounds of force. And these people are just getting mowed over by these pickups, but they have to. I don't understand how someone can put themselves in that situation. Are these people, are
It's
these,
because they lose the chicken game is why. So basically, if they just
but
didn't stop,
yeah,
those people would move or they would be run over. There was a video I saw where people were like blocking off a highway, like there was some protests, they were blocking off the highway and they're like, "We're not going to move." And some 18-wheeler came through, didn't slow down, like didn't even hesitate. And when you don't hesitate, the seas part and everybody got the fuck out of the way because they knew this dude wasn't fucking around and he was going to run your ass over if you don't move. And if you
so
have that
yeah,
attitude, people will move. But the thing is, most people don't. And
yeah,
look,
yeah.
it can be, I haven't been placed in that situation. I imagine it's pretty hard to decide, you know what? I don't really care about this fucker. I'm going to run his ass over if it means that I get out of here and I'm not going to risk my life to save some random asshole who's doing reckless stupid shit anyway.
In the Chaz, someone walked up to I think it was a van, and there was a woman inside, and he unloaded or partially unloaded his pistol into the vehicle. And knowing that that happened, that makes me a lot more nervous about trying to be nice to anyone in a crowd when I know that people have been shot before. I
I'm
think
wondering
it's,
why the fuck people are
yeah,
driving through Chaz.
amen, amen. The best way to avoid a fight or to avoid a conflict is not to be there in the first place. 100%
Like,
of the time, that is the best way of doing it.
look, if they took over, if you basically like they took over the 6 block area and you happen to live there, all right, fine. You're kind of in a stuck situation. What the fuck are you gonna do? But from the sounds of it, it doesn't sound. It did not sound like a very high end area.
Like, get this, dude. If my mom or my grandma or I don't know, one of my family members was in that area and they needed my help, I mean, I would probably demand that they come home with me and live at my house with me because I don't want to put myself at risk.
Yeah. Well, okay. My
At
my
the same
point
time, though,
is,
I'd still have to go there.
yeah. But like my point is, like you're familiar with the area. Is that 6 block zone that they took over? Is that basically a slum?
It's not that bad.
Okay, so
It's
it was like
it's
a nicer
moderate.
neighborhood. It would be like semi normal people living there, not just a bunch of drug addicts.
Yeah, I would say so. Yeah,
Okay, that's what I was kind of wondering.
yeah. No, this isn't just some ghetto. I mean, who would invade a ghetto? What would be the point?
Well, fair enough. Got to go
But
to where you can steal shit.
yeah, no, I think that they must be paying people though to put themselves in these harmful situations, or or I don't know, going after the less intelligent people of society and telling them to go and do something like that, because people are very death adverse in general. Most people really want to see what happens. I think, I don't have any statistics on this, but I think most people want to die in their bed when they're 90 with their wife. And most
Yep.
people do not want to meet their end, um, looking at the bottom side of a Dodge Ram.
Yeah. But
Personal opinion.
it's a hard call, man. But like you just gotta realize it's a game of chicken, and you're in a car, so you're gonna win.
Yeah, yeah, especially if you're worried if someone's going to shoot you, or is going to drag you out of your car. Keep your doors locked, people.
Yeah. It's like
Um,
very
yeah,
similar to the Apparently, this is what would happen. I don't know why I'm in a Napoleonic era kick right now, but
sure, go for it.
uh, this is like cavalry in those days when they would charge each other. That's what would happen. Is it was basically a game of chicken to see who would break off first. And so if the both sides were very experienced, neither of them would break. And instead of slamming into each other, which is what you imagine would happen, nobody does that. Basically, they both end up stopping, and like right as they would come into contact, they would basically like stop their charge and like just kind of duel it out, and then maybe pull back or something.
Oh,
But
interesting.
yeah, it's just a game of chicken, and you gotta I mean, step one, don't freaking drive through these areas. Like, it's one thing if it's like, you know, there is absolutely no reason, unless you live in Chaz for some reason, to be in Chaz. All the stores are shut down. Everything's looted. What are you doing?
Yeah, yeah. I mean, like I said, I think the only reason to do it would be to go and help your family or help a loved one in general in the area.
Yeah,
But
and
yeah, I want to say so. One of my favorite old Japanese stories. I think the Japanese have some freaking awesome stories, by the way. But my one of my favorite ones is there's this samurai, right? He's some super badass samurai warrior, and he's trying to live out a nice, quiet, comfortable life on the countryside. And this young warrior comes to him one day and says, "Hey, I know you. I know that you're whatever his name is, and I know that you're a quite a formidable warrior. I want to spar with you. That way, I can say that I defeated you." I believe it goes along that lines. And the old samurai says, I don't do that anymore. I'm not a warrior anymore. I only practice the art of not fighting, and that would defeat you. And the young man's intrigued by this and keeps goading him until the old man says, fine, I'll fight you. But knowing my skill level and knowing your skill level, or presuming your skill level, we will destroy this town if we stay here. So we're gonna have to do it on an island in the middle of this lake right next to the town. And so this is fine with the young samurai, and the old samurai goes and paddles them out there, and the young samurai jumps off the boat, and the old samurai kicks the boat off and goes right back to town. And halfway across the lake, he says, "This is my art of fighting without fighting."
it's a good story for sure. It it is clever. It's what is it? It's a useful tale
Yeah,
for showing you how um yeah, how you can get around certain problems.
you virtually never have to fight. You virtually never have. You can use your verbal judo skills. You can just not be in the situation. I would say, number one, best bet, don't be there. Number two, best bet, use your verbal judo skills. Talk to them. De-escalate, de-escalate, de-escalate. And hey, maybe that doesn't work. Maybe you can offer to buy them a beer. Maybe talk about something that you're both interested in. And I think it is important to be able to defend yourself effectively, whether you're a samurai or, I don't know, some Clint Eastwood gunslinger or John Wick or whatnot. I think everyone should take the steps to be able to properly defend themselves. But virtually everyone can avoid fighting at virtually all times. Not saying it won't happen, maybe once in your life or once in everyone's life, but you can avoid conflict almost indefinitely. At least in the way this country has been for the last 100 years.
Yeah, we live in a anomaly time. You realize that, right?
Yeah, I'm saying that this is true information for the times that I do know. I do not know the times that will come. Um,
Well,
he was
if
still a samurai.
history
The old
tells us
man. Yeah,
anything, it's gonna be war.
yeah. So actually, I want to ask you about that. What do you think a civil war would actually look like, though?
Hmm.
Because I can't. I mean, it's not going to be the North and the South marching against each other. That's not even
No,
possible. I don't think so.
it'll be it'll be tribal. It'll be like the Balkans, you know. So, in the Southwest, you know, you're gonna have the Reconquista happen, right? California and Texas and Nevada and all them are well, they're not gonna join Mexico, but they're gonna become a new country that's gonna look a lot like Mexico. Um,
Could happen.
and so that's what's gonna happen there. Your places like Idaho and stuff are pretty good. The big thing that I have kind of a question about is so like the so there's one aspect where it's like a rate like how people will divide up and fight it out and stuff like that. But then the next question is so basically Let me think how this is going to happen. So there's actually an interesting book. I'm not a huge fan of it, but here, let me bring it up real quick. It's called Victoria, and it goes through kind of what's going to happen. Now, I don't exactly agree with it, but it gives kind of a premise. Let's see. Oh, no. That's not what it is.
I think so. I know that you
Hold up.
disagree with me on this. I think it's possible that there could be a constitutional convention within the next so many years here. Kind of have a restart to the system, maybe update the old documents. Hopefully, still we the people, but we'll see. I think balkanization could occur. I don't know what that would look like. I'm curious if we would become like Europe with a bunch of different little countries all over the place.
Okay.
I
So,
think that the Midwest would be okay for the most part, but they don't have a port to the sea, and that would be their big downfall.
so if you go to traditionalright.com/Victoria, um, like half the book is here, and I
Okay.
did buy the book because it ends kind of on a cliffhanger. Um, I wouldn't read the entire book. It's not worth reading the whole thing. It gets repetitive.
No,
Um,
sure. Yeah.
I would read to about maybe chapter 19 here. Um, Basically, it goes through the dissolution of the United States, and then after that, goes into um, like the conflicts that come after that. And the conflicts that come after that, you could read about the first one, but they're I don't know. I didn't think they were as good as the other part.
Sure.
So, and that's at traditionalrate.com. And then if you just go to the button that says Victoria, it'll be there. And you can read the whole
Okay.
thing. It's great. Um, it is a fun read.
Yeah, but in a SparkNotes version, what do you think? So you've given me the Idaho, you've given me the Nevada, California, and shoot, I
So
can't remember what else you said.
so
Like,
basically, one of the things. So there's going to be conflict, and people are going to split up tribally, right? So, um, I don't exactly know what those tribes are going to look like, um, but you're gonna have like a um, Hispanic group and African American group, and what effectively there'll be like you'll have like the races, but it's not gonna be just based on that, right? Like within like the African American group, you might have it subdivide again into like the people that have been here for since like um, that
forever.
came here from like the slave trade kind of thing, and then you might have
Yep.
like the more modern immigrants, and that might be one of the dividing lines.
Yeah, that's possible. I don't know. I think that it's possible to do a more civic, more of a civic nation as well, where
Oh,
so I think we talked about this last time, but I think it would be possible to have like mandatory government service right out of high school. Like you turn 18, you're done with high school, and you have to contribute in some way. For example, our infrastructure in the country is really poor compared to a lot of other developed countries. Maybe we could have more of I don't know, a mandatory road service. We could have mandatory military. We could have mandatory, I don't know,
those
maybe
are superficial
public
things that
education
come
systems.
along. Okay, so we're in the cycle of empires right now, right? And we're on the decline. You can't just put artificial like
Yeah, but it's not totally artificial. Like we were talking about last time with, so for example, like the lunchrooms. So for those of you who don't know, the lunchroom example or the lunchroom test is where you walk into any high school and generally you'll see one table full of, I don't know, white guys. The next table will be full of, I don't know, South American people. And then you'll have blacks or you'll have Asians or whatnot. So people kind of self-segregate. But the tables that don't segregate are generally like the football table or the baseball table. The people who buy into the same thing, that no one really cares what you are as long as you can do your job and be effective. And I think that at least through sports at I don't know, I guess a fairly high level in high school, you have pretty effective cohesion between the different types of people. And I
Yeah.
would
Okay.
suggest that you could probably scale this.
Okay. Here we go. Um, Here's the thing. It requires and there was an article that I read on this a while ago, but I can't remember all the details, unfortunately. So there's the cycles of empire, right?
Yep.
So you have uh, regionalization, ascension of empire, maturity, overextension, and decline in legacy. We are in the decline in legacy phase.
Yeah, I would say that's
We
probably
were at
correct.
the height of our power was right after World War II, so that's when we peaked, and then we overextended by going into way too much debt and stuff like that throughout all the 60s and stuff like that, and then we overextended by getting into war after war. So we had Korea, then we had Vietnam, then we have the 7 wars that we have in the Middle East, and that got us overextended, and then also we shipped we don't make anything anymore, all that stuff, and so we're in massive decline right now, and the concern, I don't think it's going to happen. But the concern is usually what happens with the overextension and decline. Usually, actually, I don't think we're in decline because decline usually comes very, very fast. We might actually be in overextension right now. What generally happens is it's there was a Greek historian that
Hey, just letting you know, Andrew, I need to take a leak really quick. Sorry about that. Please give your explanation. I will be right back.
okay, can you still be able to hear me?
Actually, yeah, I think I will be able to. Keep going.
Okay, so um, basically what happens is you get to the overextension point, and then usually what happens is what happened with the first time this was observed and noted down in history was Athens went and attacked at the what seemed like the height of their power. They attacked Sicily for like no reason, and they got destroyed. And so that's where we're at right now. Is like Trump has been able to keep us out of all these wars, but if we got into like a war with Iran or China, China would be awful, or Russia, those are the three that they've been kind of trying to push us towards. We would quickly go in decline because we couldn't win that war. We would get utterly dumpstered, and then we would that decline. Like generally, the switching of empires, there's a conflict between the old guard and the new guard, right? Um, this transition has happened peacefully only like 3 or 4 times in history, and it's been violent about the 1,000 other times it's happened. So one of the peaceful times that it happened was when the United States took over from Britain as being the prime superpower, and that was because at the end of World War II, basically Britain just kind of its empire just kind of folded in on itself, and because America's kind of a hegemony and they fought along with side with them, it was more of a passing of the torch um, for England. Um, but most of the time, it does not happen that way. Um, try
Yeah, but
Napoleon
I want
loses
to
to
point out.
England. So that when England took over, it was when Napoleon lost to England. Um, World War I and World War II were kind of a war to see which of the upstart nations was going to take over for Britain. So basically, it was a competition between America and Germany for who was going to be the next superpower. And then, yeah, and then you had Russia and America kind of filling that space a little bit. Well, there's usually more than one or like one major power at a given time, but the
Yeah,
preeminent one is usually. Did you hear what I said?
I did. I heard everything that you said. So I want to point out. So the Roman Empire, right? So Rome was the powerhouse of the West,
Yep.
and so they declined pretty heavily. But Constantinople, I think I'm saying that right, lasted all the way up until I don't know. I
1500
think
something.
1500s. No,
I think it
I
was
think it was actually
1400s.
14. Yeah, it was about 1450 or so. So what my point is with saying that is you can have I don't even know if I'd call Constantinople an empire at that point. They were pretty small. But you can have a civilization that lasts for many, many generations, many decades.
I
So I
think
don't.
what's going to
Yep.
happen in terms of like what you're talking about, is there will be a section of the United States. I think America is going to be kind of become like Europe post Rome. So, it, well, basically, what happened is Rome fell, and all this great stuff kind of declined, and there was always like a desire to get back to the glory of Rome.
Sure.
Um, and I think you're going to have aspects of that in America when it completely falls apart, right? It's like, oh, we want to get back to what was the Roman Empire. And so you'll have various, I mean, like that kind of like idea of like being the next Roman emperor. I mean, Napoleon kind of tried to embody it. You had the Holy Roman Empire that popped up afterwards. You had Byzantium and the Eastern Roman Empire kind of do some stuff to maintain their like the idea of trying to make like get back to the glory days of Rome and stuff like that was like the cornerstone of the Renaissance. Uh, so I think you're gonna have some aspects of that in future generations after the United States collapses. Of like we want to get back to what America was, what the greatness that we remember in the past was, and so it'll be like a focus on freedom and industrialness and innovations, um, but it it'll it'll always be different, and it will never quite get back to what it was. But
Oh,
that's
yeah,
what
I
happens.
think that's, yeah, I mean, I think change is certainly inevitable. I don't think that anyone on from any political spectrum would disagree with you on that. But change is always inevitable. It's just let's hope we get it right.
Yep.
Yeah, I think that actually one sec. Let's go through this a little bit here.
The big question for America right now is I don't know what
Yep.
political const- or institutions are going to pop up. So, okay. So here's an interesting factoid for people that maybe aren't familiar with this. Um, so the idea of the nation state is a European invention, and it's relatively new and very, very unique. Um, Throughout all of history, generally there have been two institutions. It's been feudalism or it's been empire. And it usually what happens is you kind of wax and wane between those two, like where I talked about the ascension of empires or the curve of empires. Now, nation states are obviously they still fall into the cycle of empires, but one of the things um, that is interesting is uh, because how the Rome collapsed and how the church kind of took up the mantle of some of the institutions after the um, at the Catholic Church took up some of the mantle of some of those institutions when the whole collapse came. You had this different dynamic that played out that ended up developing into what we know as states today. And I don't know. Generally, when we have a collapse and stuff like that, feudalism is the first thing that pops up. I don't know what's going to come out of that because America doesn't have the history of kings and lords and stuff like that. I mean, we have them. We just don't call them that. They're called senators. Um,
Yeah.
but it's not the same thing, right? We don't have the same respect and regard for family lineage like they do in Europe. Um, and I don't know if that's going to change or if we're going to kind of see a development of something new slash uniquely American type thing when the collapse does happen, or maybe because we've had so many, because most of the immigrants that are here aren't uh, from that American stock, right, of the original um, revolutionaries. That you've kind of lost that ability to have some unique institution pop up at the collapse of the United States. I don't know. It's a question that's just kind of we're gonna have to wait for time to play out and see what happens. But it'll be something interesting to observe.
I certainly think that we are living in interesting times. Okay. By by any chance, did you watch the whole Ken and Karen video?
No, I saw like a short little clip, and I saw the amazing memes that came out of it, which
Yes, there were many.
they were good.
Those memes were god tier.
Yeah,
But
do
yes, so
recommend Brandon Herrera's gun meme review for that one. It's pretty
oh
solid.
yeah, that was hilarious. Yeah, that was pretty good. Brand Herrera is I don't know, he kind of looks like a porn star a bit, but yeah, he sure knows what he's talking about in
Dude,
general.
he's AK Jesus.
Hey, he's something. I like him a lot. I think he's hilarious.
Not to be confused with Gun Jesus, which is Forgotten Weapons. Ian McCullum.
Yes, Ian, I think it's Ian McAllister, or is it McCollum?
I believe it's McCullum.
No, well, it's one of those two. Anyway, side point. Yes. So one of the big problems I have right now with our society is so you got these two people, Ken and Karen. I don't know their real names. I wouldn't say them if I did. But so these two people, obviously from the video I watched, which you should watch the video too, it seems like these guys really didn't know what they were doing with their firearms. I believe that Ken had an AR-15 and Karen had some sort of I don't know, looks like a little stripper pistol. Looks like a Walther P38 or something
Yeah,
like that.
doesn't really matter.
Grady. Yeah, not exactly. I would argue that those are not the optimal tools to defend yourself with. But those two people, what I think is really interesting is that so they had a mob come to their place, what the media will call a peaceful protest mob group, and they tore down a gate and they marched into this. I think it was kind of a mansion that these two people had built up over the course of a couple decades.
Yeah, the home looked beautiful. Like, oh,
Yeah, I heard it was a complete
I'm too
trash
lazy
hole.
to be able to get a house like that, but it would be nice to have a place like that someday.
Oh, flipping a house like that would be one of my dreams. I would love to do it. My family is big into flipping houses, so I think that'd be really cool.
Yeah. Here's the thing, honest,
Yep.
random side note. Like, a mansion sounds awesome in theory, and then, like, I realize it's just way too much space that I probably don't need, and I'm like, maybe I don't want a mansion.
Maybe you don't need that much space. I mean, actually, I'm not sure what I'd use that space for. I can't even think of it in
Yeah, unless
jest.
I was gonna be hosting mad parties all the time. But like, just like think about how much extra cleaning you got to do just to maintain that area. Like,
You know
eh.
what? My goal is to get this podcast to take off, to sign some sort of crazy deal with Spotify or something, and then we'll be able to go get your mansion and your maids. And I don't know. I want to have a Star Wars armory. I want to have like stormtroopers everywhere, like those old mansions with men in armor and all that.
Oh yeah, I know what you're talking about.
Yeah, it's gonna be Star Wars themed. It's gonna be badass, and everyone's gonna know what kind of person I am immediately. But
That's
anyway,
everyone's
side
got
point.
things they want to do with money if they ever get it, right?
I'm also gonna invest most of it into getting a real lightsaber. I need one.
All right, make it happen.
Yeah.
But
Although I'm
anyway,
kind
what
of
were you saying
worried.
about Ken and
Yeah.
Karen?
Yeah.
Not to get
Anyway,
off topic too
side point.
much.
Yeah. I digress. With Ken and Karen, I think it was interesting that those two people were actually able to stop their property from being completely destroyed. I don't think their property was really damaged at all. I think that the group of people that came into their property actually left. And
Yeah, I was actually kind of surprised by that as well. But like, it's
oh, were you?
well, like the I guess I didn't really. I was kind of expecting them to attack to a certain extent. Like, I don't know
Well,
why.
yeah. No one wants to get shot. A gun is a huge deterrent.
Yeah, well, that's the thing. So, like, that's the group psychology you got working for you, right? It's the idea that they had, like, what, 200 people there, I think they said? And it's like, well, you got 30 rounds, buddy. So even if you get one bullet per person, you take them down and incapacitate them, like, you are still short a lot of bullets. But the thing is, every one of those 200 individuals doesn't want to be the person to take that bullet. So that, like, they have no group cohesion, right? They're just kind of like, I want to steal stuff and not. It's the path of least resistance, right? So they see resistance there, and it doesn't. He could have had an empty magazine. They're not going to attack him because he. It's a risk that they don't want to take. It's kind of like uh, predators will do like a mountain lion, like can easily destroy you, right? But it's a high risk proposition because every single time the mountain lion attacks something that might attack it back, there's no hospital for it to go to. Like,
Yep. Same with tigers. Yep.
yeah, and so that's like a high. So people are kind of thinking in those same general ways. It's like even though there is a hospital to go to, it's like, yeah, but I could just go to his neighbor's house and he ain't there, so I can just steal all his shit and nothing's gonna happen.
Well,
So
I mean, think about it. If you were a criminal, would you rather attack the place that is either vacated or defenseless, or would you attack the place that I don't know, has armed people right in front of it? I mean, no one's going to pick option number two. I
yeah,
mean, no reasonable person would. And most people, at the end of the day, are very death adverse
yeah, and this is
or
why like
injured.
it doesn't even take that much until we get to the point where we got warlords with organized militaries. Like, and even then, like their hold on power is tenuous. Uh, like just having a community that's willing to back each other up and just like take like let's say you live in a cul-de-sac with like I don't know 5 other houses and you all like
Sure.
kind of are pretty good friends and have a community. Even though you're in a suburban area and it's maybe not as um,
Likely to get attacked.
it's closer to a potential flashpoint than somewhere in the country would be. um you're still better off even if you're in the middle of the city and you are friends with like the 4 people in your immediate like building complex, like your 4 neighbors or whatever, then you have a way to fight off any of this stuff because like they come and then they see like this wall of people in terms of like this is our area. You don't come into our area. We won't mess with you. They're just gonna leave. They're gonna walk away. They're like, all right, that's off limits. It's like the rooftop Koreans are a perfect example of this. You know, it's like this is our community. This is our place. We will defend our home, our area, and if you leave us alone, we'll leave you alone. And there's an understanding there. They're like, all right, we'll steal the other person's shit who's too much of a coward to defend it.
Yeah. Yeah, one of the other really interesting things about this, so these 2 people, they do not look trained. I very seriously doubt any of them are military or have had formal training. Um,
But it
and also,
wasn't necessary.
yeah, and I want
Ideally, yeah, you
yeah,
know
but
how to.
hear me out, So, so Ken, like he he kind of muzzled his, I don't know, wife or girlfriend, not sure how they're connected to each other, but he muzzled her with his rifle, and she would had her finger on the trigger at all times, and that breaks every hunting rule of gun safety, I know. But at the same time, like these people apparently were eating dinner, and Ken wasn't even wearing shoes when he went out. He just went to town. He went to work. He needed to protect his house and his wife, I guess, or girlfriend, whatever she is.
Yeah, and all the people who are like, oh, they didn't follow every strict gun safety thing. It's like, all right, fine. You be in a high pressure situation like that and don't make any fucking mistakes.
Yeah,
When it
no, I
comes
mean,
to gun
I'm not
safety,
judging.
when it comes to people who are trying to potentially threaten to kill you, like, it's gonna happen. And
Yeah,
yeah,
no,
it's
I
not
agree.
ideal, but I mean, and I, unless you have experienced frontline combat action, I highly doubt anyone would be calm under those situations. Even
I
policemen, I bet, would, um, like your average policeman, unless they're in a very rough area where they see conflict a lot, I'm guessing they would be a little shaken by what was
Yeah,
going on and probably make some mistakes.
virtually no one has had real combat experience, or even training, or I don't even know how many people. Like for example, I used to be a big airsofter, which not to brag, but I was elected officer. But I want to say that if you do some like military simulation stuff where you have I don't know, a class, then you might know a little bit more what you're doing. But no, I agree with you that these people, yeah, I don't think you would expect them to act better than they did.
Yeah. So cool. Um, I think we got to wrap up because I got to get going to something. Um,
Okay, hey, that sounds good to me. Yeah, so
but any final thoughts?
yeah, my final thoughts are Bigfoot is definitely real, and I would be happy to debate anyone on that subject. Bigfoot is definitely a thing. Um, the world is a little bit crazy right now, in case you haven't noticed. Hopefully, there's a peaceful solution out of this. I am actually fairly confident that people will be more self reliant and that people may be wiser going forward. So I think that there is some very significant good things that could come out of the world being on fire right now. We'll see what happens to America. Hopefully, we don't have a Caesar situation or anything like that. Hopefully, we come to some agreement that 100% of everyone agrees is the right thing to do. I don't really know if that'll happen, but maybe. And want to say that everyone who likes this podcast, please like, share, subscribe. And if you're wondering why you should listen to me, I just want to say that I was able to make it through thermodynamics. So I'm a fairly smart guy. Andrew has a master's in mechanical engineering, as far as I know.
I probably wouldn't listen to
And
me.
yeah, well, I mean, hey, if I want to point out we have pretty much the same accreditation that Bill Nye the Science Guy has. So if you listen
True.
to Bill Nye, you should definitely listen to us.
Yeah.
And
So,
my conclusion, yep,
oh, go ahead. Sorry.
yeah, I just want to say, as a conclusion for me at least, I'll let Andrew speak for himself. I think we're stronger as a nation. I think we're especially stronger when everyone is as self-reliant as possible, and that we can probably do a pretty good job of predicting what the current outcome will be of the current situation by looking back at past historical events.
Yeah. Hopefully you enjoyed it. And if you're worried about anything, just remember build communities and learn stuff, and you'll be fine. Anyway, hope everybody has a good day, and see you guys next time.
All right, hit that like button.